Welcome to the Infinite Wealth Podcast. I'm Cameron Christensen, along with our co-host Anthony Faso, and we just wrapped up our interview with Luke Weber. He is an author, but he's also a very well-established flipper here in town. He's also built a couple other businesses along the way, and man, what a great interview, huh?
Yeah, I always like to hear people's story, particularly how they change, right? Because typically they start off being an employee and then making that jump to starting their own business.
Yeah. What takeaway did you have here, Anthony?
When he made that jump, what he said that he did, he got educated.
Mm.
Right? He didn't just jump in and start flipping. He got some courses.
Yeah.
And he started learning some things. So that I thought was very valuable. But he also shared he continued to learn.
Mm-hmm.
That he's continuing to go to some events, and what he talked about is those events it's not just what happens on stage, it's what happens off stage and in the hallways, right? In networking, kind of learning and being able to talk to like-minded people. And another thing I thought he said interesting about these events is that before you go, you should read about it. You should learn about it, which is great. If you're gonna, like, how many times have people spent the time and the money to go to an event, but they don't spend $20 to read a book?
Yeah.
Right. Start learning. Education is super important. But if you're not willing to read a book or even an audio book, I'm not sure how successful you're going to be eventually. What were some of your takeaways, Cam?
Yeah, it's a really good interview, and I loved how casually he took a approach, right? I mean, we're firing questions off at him and just kind of was sharing everything with us. But one of the things that jumped out at me was oftentimes we're talking to people about scaling their business and growing. And we started going through some of the numbers with him, and he was flipping up over 100 homes a year at one point. But it was interesting that he shared with us that he's actually scaled it down to about 50. And really, right, his focus is about lifestyle, right, for not only him, his family, but also his employees. And I thought that was a great takeaway as far as it's not always just getting bigger and bigger every single year. But the reason that we do this is so that we can enjoy some of the fruits of the labor. And so, man, I really admired him for taking that perspective.
Yeah, it's not all about the money, right? Money is what provides us that lifestyle we want, but how much is enough?
Yeah.
Right. And he made that decision, which I commend him for. And so another great interview episode, and I'm sure you will enjoy it.
Absolutely. Enjoy this episode. Luke, man, we are excited to have you here today joining us. Thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely, man. If you could get started, just tell us how you got started in real estate back in the day. I know it's been a while.
Yeah, so I got into real estate back in 2001 as a real estate appraiser. So that's I had been running a travel business, and it was very high stress and just brutal hours and no fun. I dropped my keys on the boss's desk and walked out one day after he had gone off on a pretty nasty tirade about one of the other employees. I'm like, I'm better than this.
Yeah.
Yeah. It took a few months off and realized that I needed more money because I've been traveling and spending money. And I was like, I wanted something no stress. I answered a data entry ad, and it was for a real estate appraisal. And I quickly went from writing appraisals for an appraiser to getting my license, and just kind of took my real estate journey from there and started buying houses and flipping and rentals and all kinds of good stuff.
When was the transition? So how long did you do appraising? Just curious.
So I was actually licensed, so 2001, and then I think it was 2013 when I turned my license in. So I no longer carry a license, which, I mean, it's a pretty rigorous thing to get licensed for appraisal. So that was a big step, because that's one of those things like, I'm never going back to this. I am committed to investing.
How was the appraisal business for you? Were you successful at it?
I was very successful. Yeah. Okay. I mean, even through the crash of 06 through 09, there was They're just like everyone.
Yeah.
There's some dark time, but I really crafted my business in a way where I wasn't the guy that was going in to individuals' houses and telling them what their value was. I did a lot of my work directly for the banks, doing appraisal reviews and higher level stuff that really helped me build a name for my business, and I could command the fees. Even, and this is, I'm talking 08 and 09,
Yeah.
like downtime. I had some of my best years appraising.
Interesting.
That is interesting. I was curious on that timeline, but awesome, man. So appraising was going well for you. You kind of made it through the recession, and then how did flipping kind of get on your radar?
Well, as an appraiser, it's all about values, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, okay, that looks like a good deal. That looks like a good deal. And I was brand new. This is 2001 and 2000. I can't remember. It was 2002 or three when I bought my first house. And it was my first house ever. I've been a renter before.
Yeah.
This is a great deal. It's priced low. It's got a tenant in it, out of state owner, nasty carpet. It can be fixed up and made nice. It was a nice condo in Summerlin. And I was like, okay, let me buy this. I didn't have credit. I was always a pay cash kind of guy. Got an FHA loan for it, which was a struggle, but I made it happen. And bought that, lived in it, fixed it up, flipped it for like it was almost $100,000 profit that I made on this thing.
Wow.
Nice.
And while I was living in that, after I bought that one, I was like, okay, this is going good. I know where my values are going to be on here. Oh, look, there's another one. So I started buying more, and I was, I did some creative financing on these things because I really didn't have the established credit. And through 05, those 2-3 years of buying, I bought rentals and flipped. I think it was about a dozen houses during that time.
Okay, so you were doing it on the side essentially, right?
Oh yeah. It's a side gig.
Yeah, I could see why that first one and almost $100,000 payday kind of got your attention.
Sure.
Oh, yeah.
Awesome. So kind of a gradual attention or building that side business up. When did you finally make that transition?
So it was, I stopped buying. It was December of 2005 when I was like, hey, this market's taking a dump. I had properties under contract.
In 05? Wow.
Oh, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, well, it's numbers don't lie. Parts of town here in Vegas, it was like October of 05, you could see declines happening. Now, I have no idea what was really going to happen over the last years, but I got out of contracts. I just bought my beautiful Toll Brothers primary residence, and I was like, okay, I'm going to sit back for a little bit. 06, I started selling off everything I could, and then I sat on the sidelines until 2010. I was like, okay, we bottomed out. I've got some money. Let me go back into this because I know there's a lot of wealth to be made in real estate. And so then I started gradually getting into it, whether I was buying and flipping them or buying rentals or even investing in some other people's deals, and kind of took it from there. And then 2013, it's actually really 2012, I was like, I'm going full time. Bought a whole bunch of education, learned a whole bunch of stuff that I had no idea about, hard money and wholesaling and all this kind of stuff. Because before I was doing everything traditionally, buying through realtors or family and friends kind of thing, like who needed to sell. And then I was like, wow, there's a whole nother world out there. And I'm like, okay, full bore. So now, this year we'll probably do just over 50 flips this year and increase our rental portfolio as well.
Wow. Okay.
So rarely have I talked to somebody who honestly started selling before 08 and 07.
Yeah.
So I got to ask, what are you thinking right now? We're in 2021.
Yeah. So it's a real different market than it was back then. I think we're pretty safe. I know that there's a ton of equity overall in houses right now. And that's something that we didn't have back in 06, 07, 08. That's one of the big things. And as far, I mean, you guys know this, the rate's supposedly going to stay where it is for almost 2 more years. Now, when that rate starts going up, now that's going to be a huge factor, right? I'm not really worried about the tenant turnovers and evictions. The mortgage companies are going to have to work with landlords to help them out and for the next 12 months. I mean, there's a lot of different government oversight to keep a crash from happening again. But the main thing is that there's a ton of equity out there. I think it's somewhere like 5 or 6 times more equity now than there was back in 05, 06. So it's even if we see a big drop here, we're not going to there. It can be absorbed. A 10% drop, that's where it's 10% is always that barometer they look at when you hit a 10% decline. Oh, hey, we really changed the market. But the market can absorb that. Yes, there's going to be some people that will be upside down, but the majority won't.
Good insight. I was gonna go back, and you had mentioned the number that I wrote down is you're gonna do roughly 50 flips this year. When in 12 and 13, I think he says when you kind of went full time, is how many were you doing a year then?
We were doing about in the 20 to 30 range.
Okay.
And over those following years, we kept scaling up, and we grew our business and businesses. We opened a real estate brokerage. We opened a general contracting company over these last 3-4 years as well. And so we did this scale up. So we were doing 100 flips a year, and we really needed a big team to do that. And I mean, as you guys know, having more employees takes away from fun time. And that's really over this last couple of years. My wife and I, we really took a look at what we wanted out of this. And I sat and had the same conversations with my business partner, because, when you guys are at this certain level, a business partner is like another spouse.
Yeah.
And you have to have
unfortunately. Yeah.
But you have to have those hard conversations and say, hey, what do I really want out of this? Do I want to make this much money, or am I happy making this much money and having 2, 3, 4 times as much free time? And for us, we're at a point where it's like, we do pretty good. I want free time though, and that we made that life choice balance, and we're going to be happier. So we actually scaled down from doing over 100 flips a year down to this 50, which we're doing with a real compact team, and we're having a great time with it.
Man, how often do you hear that, Anthony? Usually it's just go, 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 get as big as you possibly can. Yeah. But for somebody to kind of step back and realize, hey, that's not really always the best situation. Man, I admire you for that, Luke, for sure.
We got to figure out what's important to you.
Yeah.
Right.
Absolutely. Anthony and I talk about that all the time, right? Is for us, right, when we talk about business and where it ranks on priorities is, man, him and I have always been on the same page as far as family comes first. And, I'm leaving early this afternoon to go camping, and I'm taking Monday off. And
sweet.
Right. So it's a priority, man. So I admire you for that.
Yeah. My business partner has been out since Tuesday, and he's still out today. And then he and I are going out in the wilderness tomorrow with my son, and we'll probably be back on Wednesday.
Awesome. Where are you guys going? Just out of curiosity.
We'll be up in the Elko area.
Okay.
Are you hunting?
We are.
Okay, cool. What I think is cool is, a lot of times we're talking, we follow a lot of Robert Kiyosaki, right? And a lot of our listeners are on that E and S quadrant, right? And I had a conversation with somebody the other day of how they just felt more secure having that job, right? Having that paycheck, having the insurance. But I don't think that's really secure, right? Because you can get fired, right? But we want freedom. We want security or freedom. And I think being that business owner, you can develop that security, but you can also develop that freedom and to be able to spend time, go away, go camping with your son, or I know you mentioned going on these fishing trips. Like that's kind of, we got to look at with life. It's not all about money. It's about those experiences. How long are we going to be here? We don't know. We have to enjoy the moment.
Now to clarify, to have these really fun adventures, you got to be making some money. Before COVID hit, we were doing 4 countries a year at least for my family, and that's what we do. I'm not a car guy. I'm an adventure guy, and to be able to get away. But now I know how to prioritize while I'm in the office and while I'm, hey, I need to work. I need to get this stuff done so that I can take this time off and make sure I put in the extra time now so that everything runs smooth until I get back. And it's having a business partner helps with that because we can balance trade with that too. But then also having a few key people that are on staff and can really help and manage that and be part of the team and have that same understanding. And they get time off too. It's like, hey, you want an extended weekend? Hey, no problem. Right?
Yeah.
It's let's just make sure our work's done and everything's running smooth.
Sweet.
I'm curious on kind of your business model, right? Is I know your kind of primary focus is the fix and flips, finding the houses, and then you mentioned the brokerage and you mentioned the construction company. How did those 2 other pieces come about?
Well, it's the brokerage came first. What with the investment company came first, but then the brokerage was the next piece that we built, and it just kind of made sense because we saw that, hey, we're just giving people money. We can kind of keep that in house and maybe grow something else, so that at the end of the day, that ends up being a potential for a passive income for us. Now, anybody that owns a real estate brokerage will tell you don't really make money on a real estate brokerage. There's ways to do it, but it's really, you're talking hundreds of agents, and it is another full-time job, and that's not what I was interested in.
Yeah,
I was interested in just kind of capturing that, but also having it be another outlet for more properties for me to flip. So that it's why pay somebody else money when you can pay yourself money, kind of thing. So that was the brokerage, and then we had been hiring out our construction labor, and we've always been of the mindset do a little bit better than everyone else on flips. Like, hey, you know what? You're going to put in the basic granite. That's great. I'm going to spend the extra $500 and put a nicer granite in this house. You're doing cheap light fixtures. I'll do a little bit nicer. So at the end of the day, I might spend a couple $1,000s more on my flip, but it ends up being a nicer end product. It sells faster for a higher price. I make more money because it's what I do. And we said, hey, let's make sure we're doing everything correct and legal on our stuff too. Because there's a lot of guys out there that skimp.
That don't, yeah.
They if they're hiring people from Home Depot, man, stay away. But we're like, okay, let's do this right, because as an investor, if you are making improvements to your house under the premise to sell that house in the next 12 months, that work needs to be done by licensed individuals. That's Nevada regulations. And so we're like, okay, let's make sure we're doing everything right, because we don't want something to come back and bite us in the butt at the end. Now it is also a buyer beware state and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But, hey, let's make sure we're doing everything right. And that's why we started the construction company. Costs us a bit more, right? And construction insurance and all that kind of good stuff is a big expense. But at the end of the day, we know that we're doing our flips correctly. And that also makes our investors happy to know that too.
Yeah, absolutely. That's one of the biggest headaches too, as I hear from a lot of flippers, is just that construction piece, is the headaches of finding the reliability, the quality of work, and those things. So having
the biggest thing usually is the price that they complain about. Now, I can tell you that my construction company is nowhere near the cheapest, but we show up, we do the job that we say we're going to do, and we do quality work. Now, over COVID, talking about businesses and growth,
Yeah.
we were growing this. We had the construction company was just a year in the making when COVID hit, so we had scaled up big for it, and then COVID hit, and we're like, we don't know what's going to happen. We had a bunch of projects in contract that we're doing, but we were getting projects shut down continuously because either a crew or a staff member or even a homeowner got infected, and it completely changed it, and the prices of materials went up. So we actually scaled down the construction company because it's such a nightmare with fluctuations in price and availability that we're like, okay, we're going to step back. We don't need to do that. Our bread and butter is flipping. Let's focus on that. And we'll still do some outside construction, but we're picking and choosing.
I was going to ask what the scope of work was for that construction company. Do you guys do like development at all? Is it just
we
fix
did
and
some
flip?
development,
Okay.
but the majority of it was high-end kitchen and bathroom remodels.
Okay.
We did multiple full house remodels for other flippers and just people moving into town. And I like the house, but I don't like the inside, so change it all. And I really like the higher end custom part of it because it allows me to do my designing. That's always been something fun. When you do the same kitchen 300, 400, 500 times, it gets pretty boring and monotonous. But now, like you get into one, I just did one where we've got it's almost I think it's 118-inch by 72-inch island with waterfalls. I mean, the stone alone is more than two of my kitchens normally cost.
Wow.
But it's fun.
Yeah. I bet it would be fun. Yeah. So that's kind of the driving force. You got the brokerage, you got the construction company, and leading the whole thing is kind of the flipping businesses. How do you decide whether you keep a property or whether you flip it? You'd mentioned rentals, right?
Yep. It's one of those things that we've always said that you need to make that decision at the front of the project, at the very start of it. I see so many people that remodel a house and then they say, well, if it doesn't sell, I'll just rent it out.
Yeah.
And it's like, but you wouldn't have done the same remodel if you were doing it for a rental versus a flip. You shouldn't, because to maximize your value. So if you put a renter in there, you just threw away $10,000, $20,000, $30,000 that it's just wasted. For us, it's been, we've bought and sold portfolios over the years. When we were buying in 2011, 10, 11, and 12, we bought a lot of the really cheap older stuff that was not long-term plays. We kind of had a 5-year plan for that. A lot of small multifamilies, all kinds of stuff that had a limited shelf life.
Luke, I'm curious. You can flip, but I mean, I'm sure. Why not do the burst strategy where you just buy rehab and then refinance it out?
Yeah, we do some of that. Now, some of it, it's so I'm sure you guys follow all the changes in the tax laws that are supposedly coming up.
Yeah.
And when there's no more advantage to the long-term, short-term capital gains, that's going to be a very different conversation that we're already having it internally here, because it's like, okay, this is an okay rental, but we know the market's going up. We'll throw a renter in there for a year or two, and then we'll flip it out at the end of that lease or whatever it is. We over the years of having, I don't know, we probably have had 150 properties in and out of our rental pool over the last 10 years. And, you kind of know at that point, like what properties you want versus which ones you don't want for long-term holds.
Yeah.
And, a lot of the stuff that actually comes in the door, because we won't buy anything unless there's equity on it. And a lot of the stuff that actually comes in our door is not prime rental portfolio stuff. And for that, I'm talking a stucco tile, for the people across the country, stucco outside and tile roofs, stucco tile. Really, we like 4 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms minimums, and a garage. Those are easy to rent. And, if you can get them at the right price, yeah, we'll hang on to it. But right now, as flippers, the stuff that actually is coming in for inventory doesn't look like that.
Okay, cool.
I was going to ask you, you're well known here, right? But in Las Vegas, what do you think is attributed to kind of your growth? I was assuming it was kind of networking, right? Because you put a lot of time and effort into that. But is it networking? And if not, what else would you attribute to kind of that success to be over the years?
Yeah, I would say networking was really the biggest part of it. Now, I wouldn't when I network, I go out to a RIA, a real estate investment club, or I have an entrepreneur meeting, or things like that. But I would actually hold my own parties. I would have my own meetups, and we would have anywhere from 50 to 100 people show up at these things. I wouldn't charge. I would provide food and drinks, and say, "Hey, come on out. Let's have a good time. Let's all meet each other." And give away prizes. This is when we had our Golden Knights tickets, and I would give out a raffle for seats. We'd raise money for charity, all kinds of stuff. And I did that for years, and then COVID hit, so I kind of stopped doing that. But I just kind of gave back and was open and genuine and honest with people too. So besides the networking, I stood behind what I say and what I do. And I get people that contact me all the time asking for advice, and I give them advice. Sometimes I get something out of it. Maybe they send me a house one day, or list with one of my realtors here at the brokerage. A lot of times I don't get anything out of it, but I know that the way the world works, it's eventually it all comes around.
Yeah, I've seen I've seen some of the networking stuff that you do, and people approach you, and it's oftentimes it's somebody that's brand new that's just getting started, but a lot of times it's a seasoned investor, and you always seem to have time for everybody. Why are you so passionate about kind of helping everyone?
I think it just comes down to knowing that it all comes back to you, really. And it's funny because a lot of people ask me, I used to, full disclosure, I used to sell a course for flipping, and I just got tired of dealing with students who didn't take action. And I'm like, I don't, it's like, great, you gave me 10 grand or whatever it is, and I gave you all this information, but you didn't do anything with it. And that pissed me off.
Yeah.
So it's like, I'm like, I don't want to do that anymore. So I ended up writing my books, and that was my way of giving back, but also selfishly keeping my time to myself. So I put the time into writing the books so that when somebody comes and asks me a question and it's in the book, I can just say, well, have you read my book yet? And now this is a way also to determine if I want to spend more time with this person as well. Because if they come back 3 weeks later and ask me the same question or a similar question, I'm like, well, did you get my book yet? No? Okay, go get the book. It's not that hard to read.
Yeah, no, it's not, man. And I got one of them right here. This one's called The Flipping Blueprint. And as you were talking about taking action, is in your introduction to this book was one of the best quotes I've seen. It says, as you read this book and you think I should do that, go put the book down and put the idea into action. Yeah. I don't think I've ever read that in a book before, right? Everybody talks about, hey, go do something, right? Mm-hmm. But I love the spontaneity of it, man. When you learn something, go put it into action right now. Go do it.
Yeah, and there's spots in the book where I actually, after I'm describing how to do something, whether it's a social media post or a networking thing, I put it in the book. Okay, do this right now. I don't care if you're sitting at home in your pajamas or laying in your bed or you're at your office. Do this. I'm not joking around. Put the book down. Do it.
Yeah.
Because so many people, especially new people, and whether it's real estate or any business, it's like, oh, that's a great idea. I should do that. And that's it. And then they don't do it. It's frustrating. Go do it.
So tell us a little bit about the books, right? you'd mentioned earlier on is that you had paid a bunch of money to go take courses and you felt like it was a waste, was kind of what I heard you say. Is that what kind of sprung out you writing these books?
That's part of it. I mean, it's for me, it was so it's not necessarily a waste. It wasn't a waste for me, but I know for most people it was a waste. I know I can go to an event, and if I'm spending $500 or $25,000 for that event, whatever it is, I'm going with purpose, knowing that most of the stuff for me that's being said on a stage anymore really is nothing, but it's
Mm,
a couple of the conversations I'm going to have with people that are at these events will be the key nuggets that I'm looking for. And I'm going to take that and put that into action and repeat it. And I get my return that way. But I was going to these events and I was seeing these people that had maxed out credit cards and
yeah.
weren't taking action. They didn't have any capabilities and they were being taught. Now, a lot of events are just, it's full of salespeople. They're going to be up on a stage saying, "Oh yeah, I own a 300 unit apartment building, and I own a lot that I don't have to do anything to it, but I get rent from a utility company and a billboard, and I make 18,000 a month on it." And it's like,
Yeah.
okay. And then you go talk to them, and I can tell that it's just bullshit. They probably don't even own a house. But they're people at these events. They really are.
Yeah.
And I did work at one of these. I had a buddy who started a company, and I'm like, okay, I'll help you out. I'll come coach. And I went there under the idea that okay, I want to give back as much as I can while I can. But I was being told, hey, don't say that on stage because we want to sell that more. I'm like,
Mm,
no, I'm going to say what I want to say because it's the right thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
But and that's really where the books ended up coming from. It's hey, don't spend $25,000 if you can't spend $20 and start learning and building a base. You shouldn't be doing this at all. So just spend $20, get a book, read, at least have the understanding of the event you're going to, right? Have that building block so that when you are actually there, you are able to grab those nuggets that help connect the pieces and make the networking where you're talking to the right people and you start taking action from there.
I got to ask is if someone were to read like the flipping blueprint, that's the one that I'm familiar with. I haven't read the wholesaling one yet, but if somebody were to read that, um, let me say it this way: is that for a specific audience? And what I had in mind was that, man, I met with a gentleman yesterday, right, that has had a career for the last 25, 30 years,
Mm.
and it's coming to an end, right, in a hurry, like in a matter of months. And he's looking at transitioning to something else. He just doesn't know what it is. Is that an opportunity for maybe somebody that's a little bit older that is doing that? Or is this geared for somebody that's, 20, 25 years old and just getting started?
No, it's for anybody.
Okay.
Whether I mean, I've had multiple people from 18-year-olds to 60-plus-year-olds reach out to me after they've read the book and put things in action, and just from reading the book, closing deals, and those are awesome messages. I
Yeah.
love getting those, and it's like, hey man, this stuff really works, and it's funny because stuff I specifically say to do in there. I mean, that's all from my business. It's what I do day in and day out in my business because it works.
Yeah.
I didn't hold anything back. It's some stuff I just couldn't put into a book because the book would have been, this thick and it just wouldn't work. But all the building blocks are there. So wherever you're coming from, whether you have money, don't have money, you have business experience, no business experience, if you're interested in flipping houses, just pick up the book and start taking action.
If your goal is to have your passive income to be more than your monthly expenses, then you need to check out our summer series, which is why we entitled it Your Path to Financial Freedom.
Our summer series consists of 3 webinars where we're bringing on industry experts to share some of the best passive income business models that we've come across. We are putting them all here together to help you build wealth and create passive income without the risk of Wall Street.
See you there.
Kind of along those lines, is in your book, I've kind of read statements where you say, hey, there's plenty of deals out there, plenty of deals for me, plenty of deals for you, plenty for everybody. To me, Anthony and I always talk about scarcity versus abundance mindset.
Yep.
Have you always had that abundance mindset, or is that something that's new?
You know, I think that it really came around maybe around 2014, 2015, when I was noticing a lot of people were just keeping stuff close. And I remember having conversations with my business partner at the time where it's like, hey, you know what? Let's just keep giving back because there really is enough. I like to say that people are always dying, people are always moving, people are always losing a job, people are always getting a job, people are always having more kids. There's always something happening in people's lives that they have to sell. But most importantly, houses are always getting older. Things always need to get fixed. They're always falling apart, and there's always the opportunity for more property to fix and flip.
I would have guessed that you would have said that first 100,000 got you into abundance mindset.
I was in my early 20s, and that was a lot about me and my wife, and thinking, okay, how are we going to get ourselves, us, into the Then it expands to, okay, now I can help out family, and then it's like, oh, that person brought me a deal, we can help them out, and then it's like, you know what? We really can help everybody out. And I think going through the crash of 06 through 9 really was a catalyst, where we all had to grow up. And it was one of those things where it's like, okay, now I'm back in it. I'm doing well. I'm doing better. The more people I network with, the better I do. So let me have these parties. Let me give back. Let me answer questions. And you know what? Sometimes I'll get a deal. Sometimes I won't. But at the end of the day, I probably am doing better because of it.
Some of the most successful, some of the most successful people that I've spoken with and talked to is they have that mentality of just giving back and being an open book, right? Very similar to yourself. In your book, you say, I wrote this quote down. In your book, you say it's always more difficult to do the tasks that have consequences. What do you mean? What do you mean by that?
I wrote that.
It's pretty profound. Yeah, I was like, that's good. That's a good line. Yeah.
It's you're going to dwell on things a lot more when there's real consequences to something, especially if we're talking about buying a house, right? Mm-hmm. That's a big financial decision. And if you're buying a house, not for your personal residence, you're going to live in that house for 5, 10, 20 years. You're going to raise a family there. Okay, that's okay. This is the right house because of the backyard, close to a school, close to work. That's an easy decision, right? But now if you say, hey, I'm going to buy that house and I'm going to fix it up and then I'm going to make some money on it. Hopefully, that's what a lot of people say. Hopefully, they hope they will. They cross their fingers and think, I think that this should work. I when I go buy houses, I know I'm going to make money on them. Otherwise, I'm not buying it. Yeah. But it's those decisions where there is a consequence, because you could make $50,000 or you could lose $50,000. And especially if it's not your own money, if you're investing in somebody else's money, his family, your parents' retirement account, all kinds of stuff, there's consequences. Now, painting a house one color or another, that consequence is less. But the bigger the potential consequences, the harder it is to make that decision.
Luke, we're actually painting our house. There's a painter at our house right now helping my wife decide colors.
All right.
Do you mind if I have her call you and you can just tell her that's not a big deal? Right? If it's this light gray or this lighter gray.
You can always paint it again.
Yeah, but exactly.
If you want the real advice for personal house, paint one wall and leave it that way for a week.
It's good advice. Yeah.
Okay. All right. I'm going to text my wife right now.
Not just a little 1 foot by 1 foot section. Paint the whole wall. I mean, you don't have to do all the edge work and everything, but that way you can really see it and feel it and live with it.
So that's what you can do when you get home tonight. Paint one wall.
Well, this weekend, I think I'm going to be painting a wall or two.
Yeah.
Thanks, Luke.
You're welcome. I think.
Luke, I over the last 18 months, and I foresee this to continue, as I see a lot of people maybe losing their job, right? their careers changing. If someone, we touched on this a little bit already, but if somebody's looking to get started, what resources are available to them? We've touched on the flipping blueprint, right? What else where else would you direct somebody?
There's so much free advice out there, and a lot of really good advice too from a lot of really good people. And the great thing about real estate and just the basic understanding of it is it it transcends location, right? So the principles and the ideas that work here in Las Vegas, they work in Florida, they work in Texas, they work in Illinois. Um, so it's you can build that premise and learn from people in all these different areas. So you go onto YouTube and you look up things, and there's always going to be people selling stuff. That's just the world, right? We've only plugged the book probably 17 times already.
I was teeing it up for 18. Yeah, hit it out of the park.
I got to make sure you guys hit your quota. No, but seriously, going on to YouTube and really looking on it. I've got the Flipping Blueprint YouTube channel that has actually, when I was selling my course, those videos that I did for that course are all on there for free, and they go really in depth. So you can kind of look at the book as the textbook and my videos as the lecture series. But there's other people, whether you want to flip houses or get into rentals or do land investments or wholesale properties, there's all different ways to do it. And that's the great thing about real estate is you might go into it thinking, hey, I want to flip houses. And then you hear about wholesaling, that where you kind of play a middleman between a seller and a buyer. And you're like, oh, wait, I don't have to worry about paint colors. I can just make sure the numbers work and I get paid and I never even have to own a house. That's awesome, right? Or, you know what? I like having long-term wealth. I've got some money saved up. Let me put it into a dozen or 2 dozen houses over the next 10, 15 years while I'm still working, build up this portfolio that will pay me back at the end of the day. So, I mean, it's you will gravitate to one part of this business. And then if you find something that works for you, just keep repeating it. Don't go and do, I got to do 5 other things, 10 other things.
Yeah.
Put all your eggs in one basket. It's okay.
Yeah. Go get really good at something and just do it over and over again.
Yeah.
What I know you've got additional resources. We just talked about a couple of the books, and you'd mentioned that you're also writing 2 other ones. You want to discuss those or not?
You know what? Since the second edition, if you're watching this, so today is September 10th. I hope it's okay that I'm telling
Yeah.
people.
Yeah.
The second edition of the Flipping Blueprint's coming out, and that'll be released. It should be selling in October. And in there, I've got because I want to make sure that I hold myself accountable. I put my next books in there on the title page as well.
Nice.
So it's the rental blueprint and the private investing blueprint, as well as the wholesaling blueprint, which is already out. But those are just, I write all my stuff the same way, very conversational, easy to read, but packed full of action items and things that you can do and take action with.
Awesome. You got one more thing that you do. Is I was watching you yesterday on the sips and flips, man. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah. So I've always found I'm not a golfer. Cam, you and I have played soccer together. Blew out my knee, so I can't do that anymore, or at least not yet. But I don't golf. But what I do, I drink, and not, it's not like excessive, but I've closed a lot of deals at bars over a glass of tequila or 3. One of my best private investors, he and I hang out and drink tequila all the time. It's fun, and we have high level conversations. Now, I've been at bars, and I'm not talking about your kind of low end bars that
classy places, right? Yeah, of course.
I'm at nice places, and normally I'm a t-shirt and flip flops guy. But I'll dress up. I'll go to these bars and I'll meet private investors, other real estate entrepreneurs, and we have high-level conversations over drinks. And I thought, you know what? I remember when I was not at this level, and I would be at the bar, and I'd see people having a conversation, and I'd be like, wow, I'd really like to be part of that conversation. Maybe I recognize somebody, or just you could tell that something was happening.
Yeah.
So I thought, okay, how can I really bring that back and get people to be involved in that? And that's where I started the Sips and Flips events, the parties that I was having. Like, hey, let's all have this conversation at the bar together. And then I took it to these live streams that I do, Q&As in our Flipping Blueprint group page on Facebook. And I have a friend or an industry person, Cam. I think I'm going to have you on here in a couple weeks.
All right.
And I asked my guest, hey, what do you drink? Because, whatever it is, I'm going to take what you like, and then I'm going to take it up another 5 notches for quality, and we can experience something awesome together.
Well, Luke, how many qualities of Zima are there?
If you can get it imported from Sweden. But that's so. I had a guest on last night, and he was Jack and Coke guy. I'm like, okay. So, and I had just done another whiskey show, and I was like, okay, he likes Jack, so let me go and get. There's a bottle up there, but it's the gold number 27 Jack Daniels special bottle. I'm like, okay, we're gonna drink Jack and Cokes with that. I've got I don't know, I've probably got a few $1,000s worth of booze right behind me right now. But we get tipsy and we have this real estate conversation live, and we answer your questions. And I try to get my guests to share anything and everything. So,
well, I can't wait to watch that with Cameron.
It's a fun time.
Yeah. Sounds like a good time. I watched last night. You had Gabriel Negretti, I think.
Yeah, Negretti.
Yeah, Negretti. Thank you. And man, it was a great story, right? I was asking earlier about kind of who's the book, who's the resources for, and man, this guy's taking action. He's same thing. He's doing real estate on the side, and he's working hard. And it was cool to hear that.
Yeah, and he's got a full-time job. He's a husband and father of 2 kids, younger kids, and sometimes I look at him, I'm like, man, this guy doesn't sleep. And it's funny because he reminded me that I actually bought his first wholesale deal that he had ever done back in 2018. I helped him through the process, and from there, he did some wholesales and said, you know what, I don't want to leave money on the table anymore. I want to do the flips myself now too. And guess what? I had a construction company, so he came to me and he's like, hey, can you bid this out? Can you help me with the scope of work and all that? And from there, I've done, I don't know, maybe 10 remodels for him. And we've actually partnered on some deals too. And, it's been fun watching him grow. And I'm investing my time, money, and energy into him because he is taking action.
Yeah.
And, I'm really proud of him because, he's done this himself by taking action and wanting something more for his family.
Before we wrap this up, man, I know you've done a bunch of traveling. Where is the favorite place that you've been, and then where do you want to go?
Ooh, it's always tough to pick a favorite out of anything, right?
Not really, but don't tell my kids that.
2 years ago, I took my family to Ireland and Scotland, and that's kind of the way we always judge it is, would we go back there?
Mm-hmm.
And I've already got another trip planned to go back to Scotland. So it's, I loved it. I want to explore more and see more. And we actually have some family friends in Scotland too. So we have been for like 6 years, 7 years, I think it was. And so we finally got to go and visit them because he's originally from Scotland. And it was just, the trip was great. Ireland was magical. And we spent 2 solid weeks over there, and we did not spend enough time.
Cool.
What was the other half of that question, though? Oh, what's next?
Yeah, what's next?
Well, depending on how COVID works out, I've got Spain, I've got Scotland, Namibia, and Greece.
How did Namibia make that list? I have never heard of anybody kind of going there.
Well, like I said earlier, we like adventures. We like to explore and do things. Namibia is if you think about like going to South Africa, Namibia is a bit more stable and secure, especially right now with everything that's happening down there. And it's just beautiful, beautiful country. You go out on safari and really see something different. And that's something for us. Whenever we've traveled, we've always gone. And like, I'm not staying at the resort if I'm going somewhere. We went to Belize a year or two ago, and we drove the entire country. And it's like, people are like, oh, don't leave the city or don't leave the resort. And I'm like, why not?
Well, that's where all the fun, that's where all the excitement is.
Time.
Yeah.
But we literally drove the entire country. The same thing. I like it's wherever we go, we're exploring, we're eating the local food, not the tourist stuff. We're drinking the local drinks, and just it's if you're in a position to do what you want, why not do it?
My wife and I went to Greece, and we spent a week in the Greek islands, and then we spent a week in Athens. So I'll give you some have to spots when you go.
Yeah, for sure. That's my wife's. That was hers. Like, okay, where do you want to go? Greece. Okay, that's one of our next trips.
So Santorini is the most picturesque, beautiful place I've ever been in my entire life, and I would go back there in a heartbeat.
Nice.
Yep. Well, awesome, Luke. Is if somebody wants to reach out, right, whether it's just for some education, get your resources, man, what's the best way to contact you?
Facebook. I'm pretty active on Facebook. I do a lot of networking. I do a lot of virtual events. And I do a lot of different posts on there. I've got my obviously my personal profile, Luke Weber, but I really try to do all the real estate Q&A questions kind of stuff in the Flipping Blueprint group page on Facebook. If you want to get into there, you just answer a couple questions. It's super easy. It's free, but you're not getting in unless you're answering questions. And I'm trying to keep it, spam free. A really cool group of investors. We've got about 3,000 people in there all across the country, and it's people that want to see other people succeed. So that's why I like that group.
It is easy to get in because you let me in.
I did,
but it is cool because people will post in there about taking action and some of the successes that they've had, and then you've got 3,000 people cheering you on. So it's a pretty cool group to be a part of.
Good.
Awesome, Luke. Thanks for joining us, man. We really appreciate your time.
All right. Thanks for having me, guys.
Absolutely.
Thanks, Luke. And make it a fantastic day.
Take care.